Hello, good afternoon from Albany here in New York. My name is Dr. Santosh Abraham. I'm going to be your professor for this course, which is very much a course that is different from the other courses. Now, the purpose of this very short video is just for me to touch base with you before my trip to Luxembourg, which will be, for me, I leave on Thursday and I will be seeing you on Friday and then on Saturday. Now, one of the things I just want to highlight briefly before our class begins is that this is a very different course. It is not like your typical courses in accounting and in finance as well, because when you're doing your other courses, for example, let's say financial accounting, the focus is on specific accounting standards. Or if you do management accounting, you'll be looking at costing and decision making in relation to decisions that financial managers make. Now, in this course, the focus is very much on some of the current thinking in relation to research in risk reporting as well as on the related field of audit. So you may be wondering why, as an accounting professional, why do I have to worry about research? What is the purpose of that? And I think I just want to highlight that very briefly here in this short video clip. Now, the reason why research is important, especially at graduate level, is because accounting is always a field that is evolving and that is changing. Rules such as debits and credits. Okay, you can say that's been there for ages, and I don't see that changing. However, as you will realize, there are a lot of things that are changing in relation to standards, for example. For example, US GAAP and IFRS, the move towards convergence in relation to these two projects, the introduction of narrative reporting and the importance of this. So one thing that is clear is that accounting is and has always been in a state of flux, in a state of change. And being able to critically evaluate some of these changes is important for an accounting professional. If all you're doing is to record transactions, then maybe it's not that important to consider research. But at graduate level, at higher level, it is important to stand back and look at some of the changes in accounting and look at it very critically. In this case, a lot of the focus that we will be looking at is focusing on the narrative reporting of risk information by companies. And I think it's an important part of what companies are doing to convey to information to investors about some of the risks that the companies are facing. So a lot of the focus will be on looking at some of the research that has examined this field from a practice point of view, not just looking at the theory, but also looking at it very much from a practical point of view. As students, the advantage for you is that you, by engaging in a course like this, you gain a number of important skills. You gain the ability to engage with current thinking in relation to a topic, to engage with reading journal articles. And one of the things that I will be asking you to do in this course is to critique a paper in accounting on this topic. And by getting that experience, you are gaining a number of important skills. One other important thing that relates to this is that by engaging in this topic, you will also be gaining skills for your final dissertation project. So if I can just list a number of these skills, you will be gaining the skill to solve problems, which is important for a professional accountant. You will be gaining the skill to work on a project that has a fixed deadline. You will be gaining the skill to question existing knowledge. And that's very important because an accountant's job is not just to record transactions, but beyond that is to add value and advice, and looking at the big picture is very important. And critical thinking is a key part of doing that. The other thing that you will be gaining as a result of working on this is problem formulation, understanding how a problem is formulated from an accounting research point of view. And that's an important part. So for me, this is the fourth time I'm now teaching this course at the university. And I've really enjoyed it because it's a very short course, but it does give the chance to impart something different from what you're doing. Now, the other courses such as financial accounting, management accounting, taxation, and all the other courses in relation to this, like finance, for example, are all important. I'm not saying it's not. And understanding the technical aspects is very important. But also, at graduate level, it's important to understand some of these other aspects in relation to some of the research that's there. So it's not a major part of what you do, but it is one small part. And I think it's very important at graduate level to understand some of that. So as a consultant, you will be, if you're working as a consultant, if you work as an auditor, if you work as a financial accountant or management accountant, if you work as a financial analyst, all of these things will get all what we do in this course will give you some very important skills to take away that are not directly seen sometimes, but because the skills you're gaining are very much indirect. I've listed a number of these. I'll talk about that later when we come into the classroom. Some of the questions are very different. Now, so just a bit about myself very briefly. I am currently, as I said in my email, as I said at the start of this video, I am currently based in Albany, which is the capital of New York State. I actually moved here in September of 2015. And before that, I was based in Edinburgh, in Scotland. And I worked for Heriot-Watt University in Edinburgh for almost about 6 to 7 years. And before that, I was at Napier, also in Edinburgh, and before that in England, in Exeter. And before that, going back in time, I was in Thailand, where I was based for about 10 years. And before that, I was in India for about 5 years. And before that, I was also in West Africa, in Nigeria, for about 10 years. And in between, that's from January to about January to July of 2015, I worked in Dubai for a short time period. So as you can see, I've got a very international experience, and I love that exposure that I've got. I hope to share some of that experiences with you when we talk about international research in relation to risk reporting. On the corporate side, I've got experience of working as a consultant. I worked for BDO Capital. I also worked for Anderson on projects but that relate to mainly financial analysis, some tax projects, and those kind of things. My research is I've spent a lot of time researching company annual reports, disclosure by companies, how risk reporting affects investors, and I will share some of that because a lot of what I will be talking in this course will be from my own research experience, from my own publications, and from my practice-based research. I've spent a lot of time looking at secondary data. I spent a lot of time looking at primary data, doing interviews with investors, doing interviews with people who write these reports, and the objective has always been to find out on a larger scale how relevant is the information that companies produce, and how can this information be improved. Okay, so I just want to say thank you very much for watching this video, and also thank you for sending me your group names. I've received the group names from your class. If there is any group that is left, please email me as soon as possible about the presentation. Now, I'm also going to send you a sample presentation from last year so that you can have a look at that. Okay. But it's a very short presentation. The objective is to get you some experience of looking at some risk reports from real companies. Okay, and I think that's an important part, so you can actually see the practical side of that. The other part of your assignment I will talk about when I am there. So this is me, Dr. Santosh Abraham, signing off from New York, and I look forward to meeting all of you next week on Friday. Bye for now.